Good evening, guys. We'll let all of our customers come through the virtual doors to this Zoom session over the next couple of minutes. Usually takes a few minutes for everyone to join the session. So in the meantime, say hello to our wonderful naked winemakers. Serena, hi, how are you doing?
Fine, you? Are you fine?
Very good, thank you. Yes, I'm good, thank you. Where are you? Where are you this evening? Where are you calling from?
I'm in my home village, hometown, Alba, in my office, where it's a share office together with my boyfriend. So I'm just showing you a small corner with some French map, not Barolo map.
Yeah, are they maps of Burgundy? Looks like
yes, right.
Côte de Nuit and Côte de Beaune. Yeah,
Côte de Beaune, Côte de Nuit. You know, something to change.
I have to say maps at home. Yeah. And Johan, how are you doing, buddy?
Very good, thank you, Matt, and you as well.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Can't complain. Keeping warm on this cold winter night, but I expect it's pretty toasty where you are. Where are you? Down in the Cape?
Yes, Somerset West in the freshly built offices or wine studio, as we call it, and we're having a few warm days. We had Matthew's school end of year picnic earlier, so there were 20 parents and 60 kids hopping up and down. So it's nice to have some a little bit more quietness at the moment with the boys passed out after all the playing. So I'm very excited to be here and to have a presentation and a chat to you guys and the Angels.
Good. Relaxing with about five or 600 of us. That sounds good.
It's more quiet than 3 busy boys.
Yeah, I bet. Well, it's good to see everyone joining. We're up to a good almost 400 now, so that's great. People continue to come in, but welcome, Angels. Welcome this evening to our festive Zoom session, which we've called a Winemaker's Guide to Christmas. So very excited to have two of our finest winemakers here with us tonight: Serena Cordero from Piemonte in northern Italy, and Johan hauling all the way from the Cape in South Africa. So fantastic to have you with us tonight. So it's a chance, an informal Christmas get together with a festive theme, and you know, it's really informal. So you guys, we're just going to talk to the winemakers about how they like to spend Christmas. They've each chosen two of their wines. They've selected two of their own wines, which would go perfectly with different food over Christmas, and we'll be talking to them a bit about that. And I also gave them a little bit of pocket money to spend at Naked, and they've each chosen a special bottle of wine that they don't make, but one that they'd like to drink over Christmas, and we've managed to get them one of those bottles. So that we'll also be tasting that. So how it's going to work, we're going to chat. It's very informal. You're all complete Zoom experts by now. So you can see there's the chat in the bottom of your screen. Please be keep that as lively as you can. Talk to each other. It's great to let everyone know where you're dialing in from, what you're drinking tonight. Hopefully the taster pack with us. And then you can also see the Q&A section there, where you can ask a question to our winemakers. We'll make sure we've got plenty of time for questions along the way. And I am told that at the end, one lucky viewer, one lucky angel, is going to win a whole 6-pack of the wines that we're tasting tonight. So do keep involved for that. We'll be announcing the name at the end. And then Simon, our Christmas elf in the background, will get in touch with you and arrange the all-important delivery of those wonderful wines to you. So there we go. My mouth's getting a bit dry. It's the festive season. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a bit thirsty. So without further ado, I think it's time for our first wine. Okay, so there we go. So you're all getting experts at our tasting packs now, I'm sure, so I don't need to really explain it, but we're going to go in for wine number 1. And you're really just going to snip the end off and pour it straight into your glass from here. And then, so wine number 1 is Serena. It's your Gavi di Gavi from Piemonte. So there's the bottle.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great stuff. Tell us about the wine.
So here we are with the Gavi del Comune di Gavi. So for the ones who don't know actually about the Gavi, we are in the Piedmont, so northwest of Italy. So that region close to the Alps, close to the France. The Gavi especially is a part specific of the Piedmont. It's like the eastern part of the Piedmont, more eastern, southeastern. So it's really more close to we have the Mediterranean Sea at the south. So we can consider we are having some influences from the seaside. So it's quite salty white variety, because the variety we use is the Cortese. It's one of the few white varieties that we have in Piedmont, because Piedmont usually is well known for being a red area, so red region. But we have few whites that personally I love for sure, and the Cortese is one of these. And in the area of Gavi, for sure, it takes the appellation Gavi. And the difference with the Comune di Gavi is that this one is made in a specific small area close to the village of Gavi, and it takes the name and the appellation Gavi del Comune di Gavi. So there are not a lot of winemakers, there are a few winemakers that are allowed to produce this appellation. From the tasting point of view, it's a salty, I usually say crispy and salty white. It's really crispy, it's mineral. You can taste the minerality coming from, I usually say the minerality coming from the seaside, but it gives you the idea of what I mean. It's something really that it doesn't give you the impression of being in a red clay soil area, because this soil usually have a high percentage of red clay in that area, so rich in iron, and that gives more minerality and complexity to this white. It's a simple white vinification, so nothing strange. We press the grapes, we take the juice, we ferment it at low temperature. So in this way, we are going to reach, to maintain, to keep all the aroma compounds.
And no oak, it's just all in stainless steel, just for the fruit freshness. That's right. Yeah,
all stainless steel for keeping the freshness. And so that's the secret. Usually as for all the other wine also, that we produce, we try to maintain the freshness and the acidity. That's going to maintain all the wines really alive, fresh and longer period. So it's a wine that can be drinkable also even after some years.
I know, and I kind of know what you mean about that minerality, that slight saltiness. What is it that gives it that kind of salty character?
It's just the soil. So when you try the Gavi, you compare the Gavi and the Gavi del Comune di Gavi, the difference is just the soil where the vineyards are planted, because the vinification we use is the same. So this minerality just comes through the soil and the mineral soil composed by this red clay and rich in iron, that are where the roots of the vines find all their compounds. And so that's true when we say the grapes arrive at their best thanks to the soil and thanks to the area where they are planted. So we cannot do miracle. We always depend by Mother Nature. And in this specific case, the 2021, we can, as I say, Mother Nature always it's always controlling us, because we were lucky to have some to maintain some grapes, because 2021 was a quite hard period, hard harvest, because there were a lot of hailstorm in all the area. So we had hailstorm all around us, and fortunately we get to pick up the grapes. Because there are
so did you lose a lot of grapes in 2021?
In some area, yeah. In some area, yes. We had some problem. There are some winemakers also around us in the village next to ours that were completely destroyed. So the vineyards were completely destroyed. So we said 2021 we were really lucky. And it's fantastic. And even though it's a harvest, it was the vintage really well balanced. So that's why you can feel the structure, but at the same time, you can taste the structure, but at the same time, the freshness.
Yeah, I guess what's left in the vineyard, if hail or frost affects it, leaves fewer grapes, and there's a lot of concentration in them, a lot of quality. So less quantity, but great quality.
Less quality, but great quality.
That's fantastic.
And that's something, that's a problem that's happening year by year. More and more. I mean, every harvest is becoming more and more difficult to control and to work with, because I mean, everybody knows all the problem due and connected to the global warming, and so wine grower, winemaker knows more than everybody else, and we still have contact with these problems of global warming every day. And that's an effect we have in front of us. But fortunately, so we get 2021, we survived, so we can drink this glass of wine here.
Yeah, and it's delicious. And thinking ahead to the festive season, thinking ahead to Christmas, what are the sorts of foods that you might enjoy with a wine like this?
So if we think about Christmas, and so Italian Christmas, we have different tradition, and so different kind of meal. But specifically, this Gavi del Comune di Gavi could be perfect with seafood, because in Italy, we have the 24 night, the dinner of 24 night, and also the lunch of 25. So it's not enough.
Yeah,
it's not
always
just one
cramming in the big meals.
Not just one.
Yes, the 24th is an important occasion in Italy, isn't it?
Yeah.
As it, I guess it is in France as well.
Yeah. The 24. Usually we have a light lunch, a light dinner, and then after the 25 we have a heavier lunch. But heavier because we just eat a lot, but we usually eat during the lunch. The 25 we have some seafood like spaghetti with scampi, and usually for me we start drinking a white like the Gavi del Comune di Gavi, so that's a perfect match.
Yeah. Lot of love for this wine in the chat, lots of really great comments, and as ever as we go along, love to hear what people think of all of the wines in the chat, and also what sort of foods you can imagine these wines going well with, or if you've had them in the past and you've got particularly good matches. So yeah, keep that chat coming. Really good to see. What do you think of the wine, Johan? You a fan?
This is exactly the style of white wine I normally enjoy. That savoriness is almost licorice aniseed saltiness, and I'm just wondering, Serena, the richness in the wine.
Yeah.
It's not the oak. Is it the clay which normally adds richness, or is the vineyards maybe a little bit older? Because there's a beautiful richness and finesse and freshness in this wine that I find really attractive.
No, usually it's only coming from the soil, so the clay, but also a period spent surely in the still tank. Okay. So it's a period of aging, like 2-3 months. And that gives this sort of structure that you can taste.
It really is a Christmas wine. There's a cheerfulness and a generous personality in this wine that I really appreciate, and I can imagine it goes really well with seafood or some great cheese over the festive season, as we normally also enjoy on the 24th. Saving the bigger wines for the 25th with a little bit more food, but I can imagine. I wish I had a small sample and I could keep this bottle for the 25th.
Keep it close. Yeah. Keep it close for Christmas.
A vacuum van isn't going to quite go the distance.
No, close but not. Yeah. Beautiful.
Ah, fantastic.
Thank you.
Lovely. All right. Thanks, Serena. Very elegant. I can imagine it with seafood. And Johan, good shout. A little bit of like crisp, fresh cheese as well, I think would be great. Yeah. Right. If everyone's happy, let's move on to wine number 2. Keep it rolling. Make sure we get plenty of time for questions along the way. So, Johan, we've moved over to you now. It's Kruger Family Old Vines Chardonnay 2021. So, what have we got here, and what should we be tasting?
Sure. Interesting. I do find a generosity in all 3 the white wines that we're tasting tonight. In this instance, it's one of the very oldest Chardonnay vineyards in South Africa, planted in 1986 on decomposed granite soil. And with angel funding, this vineyard was saved for the 2019 vintage. It ended up in co-ops previously. And with the price that the vineyard owner received, it was not longer viable. So we pitched it, and Angel supported us, which I'm very grateful for. Imagine losing the oldest Chardonnay vineyard in South Africa. So thank you, Angels, for doing this. And I always say, I sound like a broken record, but working in the vineyard, working with the grapes and the wine in the cellar, and then on a day like today, sharing these wines with lovely company. It's like having a conversation with your grandmother from old vineyards. You keep quiet and you listen to the wisdom they've accumulated over the years, and getting back to that humble generosity, I think that this wine is showing. Everybody knows I love Chardonnay, and I've got a soft spot for older vineyards. And I'm just really humbled and grateful to be able to get the funding to work with this wine. And this would be Christmas Eve. I had to say it, although South African cheeses are good, it does not quite beat the French. So we'll probably have a nice creamy French cheese with us, and some baguette or bread before a little bit of seafood, and in between those 2 eating sessions, enjoying the wine and starting the opening of a few presents before Christmas Day. So if I can also add, I told Matt earlier, and Angels from my side, and Serena shared the sentiment. Last Wednesday, the box of 6 wines arrived at our door, and it was the first time that I was on the receiving end of a box of naked wines, and I could share your emotion. I think most of you, when you receive a box of naked wines, and wow, that put one big smile on my face. I'm still feeling it. So cheers.
The excitement of it landing on your doorstep, and
indeed
trying to remember what you ordered in the first place. In my case, so it's actually usually a bit of a surprise. But I'm really glad the wines got to you, both of you.
Me too.
So it's great. I guess it's the first time we've been able to do that, and we can all taste the same wines together. So that's really good. So it's just like we're all having Christmas dinner together, really, isn't it? Or something like that. There we go. No, it's beautiful, Johan. And to dwell on the old vines a little bit for a second. I mean, old vines. South Africa has got an incredible wealth of old vines and has been extremely proactive in sort of registering them, discovering them, and that's a big part of what you do as well, isn't it? I mean, you've got your old vine series, and that goes through the Chenin. I would imagine the Chenin vineyard is even older, but you know, so it's a big part of your belief in winemaking, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. I must say it's something I've grown very passionate about, and you know, it's amazing to see the gratefulness, not only from the vineyard to be saved, which I believe you can taste in the wine, but also the difference it makes into the farmer and his communities when there's a stronger influx, you know. And I'm bragging on behalf of the Angels. We started in end of 2017 when we saved the old vine Chenin vineyard, working with 1.4 hectares of old vine Chenin for the 2018 harvest. This escalated, and we're not using all the fruit of all the vineyards, but there is a positive influence into almost 60 different hectares of old vine vineyards with the growth of our series and wines, and also Naked Wines US, and that's purely thanks to angel funding and the pressure's on me to keep on making these wines from these vineyards. And yeah, I believe we're on a good path. So thank you very much. It's my honor to be able to walk in these shoes, if that makes sense.
Well, you've done an absolutely awesome job with this old vineyard, and the wine it smells like it spend some time in oak. Are they kind of generally a bit older barrels? And
yeah, I'm always sensitive. You know, I don't want to use the word mutton dressed as lamb, but old vines and too much makeup or too much new oak just doesn't work. So you want that natural beauty of the grandmother. They do radiate. So we do about 40% of the old vines are natural ferment in concrete egg, and then the balance in older French barrels, so third, fourth, fifth full. Natural ferment, and I believe this accentuates the richness of the vineyard. There's almost an oatmeal, citrus, lanolin oiliness, that sort of compound, which it almost pulls me to Burgundy. We're not Burgundy, of course, we are South Africa, but there's a little bit of that persona in the wine. Yeah, so that's what I pick up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. I detect that too. Some wines from the Macon, the sort of more southern regions of Burgundy, I find that sort of mealy honeydew melon a bit, and that sort of honeysuckle character. Yeah, delicious.
Right.
Very very elegant wine. A lot of people in the chat saying they don't like Chardonnay in general, but they love this wine. So that's great to see some converts there with this wine. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm tempted to say sometimes with this wine, it almost is more old vine than it does Chardonnay, but it still has that Chardonnay DNA in it.
Yeah,
sorry,
for sure. Great. Are you enjoying the glass, Serena?
Yes, it's really lovely. It's so full. It's so, as you say, there is a sort of honey taste. It's creamy, rich.
It's creamy.
I think it's a sort of it's a wine that could perfectly match also with some white meat, no?
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So angels could enjoy this quite well with the turkey on Christmas Day, perhaps to bring it back to traditional British Christmases. Roast chicken, some creamier dishes, I think some risotto or something like that as well. Yeah.
One dish we do enjoy with old vine Chardonnay non-Christmas times is braised pork cheeks. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
It works.
Oh, God, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah. So
good stuff. Good stuff.
On.
Well, yeah. So well, keep your food recommendations coming in. Braised pork cheeks. I'm so on that, says Sally Ann. It's a hit with all of us. This really is a belter, says Steve. So everyone enjoyed the wine. But let's press on and let's stick with you, Johan, and let's stick with Chardonnay, eh? Because we're going to move to France. Johan's selected a wine from our range that he's keen to taste and keen to show you. And I asked him what else apart from his own booze does he drink at Christmas, and he said, "Oh, I love Burgundy." So here we go. We've got Benjamin Laroche's Chablis Premier Cru Voligneux 2020 to pour. So I think we had Benjamin Laroche on briefly last Christmas, showing a couple of Chablis. We do two Premier Crus from him, a straight Chablis and a Petit Chablis, which was new to the range this year. And just while I remember it completely, it's worth having a look at Petit Chablis often, because a Petit Chablis does not mean it's lesser Chablis. It's just from a zone outside of the main Chablis region. And actually, a lot of the Petit Chablis vineyards are right at the top of the hill, and some literally just above Grand Cru vineyards. So you can have very, very good quality Petit Chablis if you want. But there we go. Basically, it goes from Petit Chablis to straight village Chablis. Then you've got a Chablis Premier Cru like this, and there are about 12 Premier Crus from memory. And then there are a number of Grand Crus, about 5 Grand Crus above. So here we go. So what do you guys make of it? It's really concentrated. I think Benjamin's done a fantastic job of getting lots of concentration into this wine. It's extremely stylish. It spends no time in oak to speak of. And it's just, I don't know about you, but I get great length and great minerality in the wine and lots of concentration.
I agree with you. I always say with great Chardonnay, and specifically, it's easier to get this in Burgundy. And as a winemaker, also the challenge is to get in the right balance, power and finesse. And this one has it. It's got that drive and that intensity, but also that freshness and almost steely sea breeze, oyster shell minerality, which I find very attractive. And that's what makes Burgundy fascinating to me. Serena, your maps, Matt, you've got them. Mine, I must dust off after our build. They will go back to the walls, but I think Burgundy is a big inspiration for many winemakers. And in my humble opinion, I don't think there's a greater grape to translate terroir than Chardonnay. And this one is a perfect example for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. So there is something you can see in Burgundy, as in the map I have here behind me, that you move from Meursault to Chablis, and it's 100 or 150 kilometers of distance, and you can taste the difference. So the soil, so the work they did on the division of every single parcel or every single appellation, every single cru, it's huge. And it's not just because they just wanted to change the name, but because these single cru are different. It's completely different. The one from the other one, close like 5 meters far away from 5 meters from the next one. So the study they did on the terroir, it's huge, and that's the real effect that we have, the results that we can taste in the glass.
Yeah, It's all in the detail, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Chablis, so Chablis, for those of you who don't know, it's very chalk, fossil-rich soil. So it's famous, and it's quite a lot further north than the maps on behind Serena there. So there's actually a good distance between the top of Burgundy and the start of Chablis. It's a little bit cooler. So the Chablis, generally the wines of Chablis are all in the freshness, all in the minerality. So I saw a great comment in the chat from somebody saying it was a revelation to them that they'd never tasted anything like it. I think that's a good Chablis producer, and a good Chablis is a wonderful thing for that. But yeah, no, great choice. Really great choice, Johan. Delicious.
Thank you.
Delicious wine there. And what are we all thinking we'd like to eat with that Chablis? And in my house, Christmas Eve we like a few sneaky little oysters, and I think that Chablis would wash down a few oysters brilliantly. But I don't know, for the vegetarians out there, a nice little tart maybe with some green vegetables on it. What any thoughts from you? I mean, South Africa, Johan, has incredible seafood, doesn't it?
Indeed.
So,
we were just at the Matthews school picnic talking. It's funny. I think sometimes the fathers talk more food than the mothers, talking about the holiday plans, etc. And we enjoy going to Jacobs Bay on the west coast for a long weekend, beginning of January, just before harvest starts. And the house we're renting on the beach is right next to an abalone factory. And
oh, wow.
You can buy cultivated abalone for reasonable prices. Not going to take too much time on the recipe and so forth, but we buy a whole bunch of live ones, put them in treat them and put them in a marinade of white wine and lemon juice. And over the weekend, every now and again, it's mostly Mathieu or Maxime who opens the fridge and they say, "Dad, are you making paddlemoon again?" And to show you how delicious it is, Mathieu is now turning 7 next week. He takes 2 at a time and eats them like that. So that's the kind of food. Shellfish, paddlemoon or abalone, mussels, oysters with this wine is just, I don't think anything will be a better match than that, for me personally, at least.
It's easier to find fish there where you live more than in Piemonte, I can assure you.
Really, that's good. I'm grateful for that, but sorry for you, but I'm sure you should have a good supply every now and again.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
But, I mean, we
it's
don't
not
have
too bad,
oysters.
Is it?
Sorry?
It's not too bad, is it? You get a good fish from the coast, I think.
Yeah. But it's quite hard to find good oyster.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or mussels.
Wow, that'd be good. That's awesome. Right. Well, I think everyone's really enjoying that wine. We could take a few questions maybe that are starting to build up in the Q&A before moving on to the reds, so we keep on top of things. Serena, your Gavi, what temperature is it best served at? We had it in the fridge for 20 minutes and it's perfect. Does it change if it's colder? So I guess this is all about serving temperatures in wines, really.
Yes, I think maybe, I don't know how it's working, his fridge. My fridge for 20 minutes is not working a lot. I mean, it's not enough for getting the temperature lower. Usually I love it really, really cold, around 16 degrees. It's because I can taste more and more the freshness and the aroma are not going to just explode at the first turning glass. So I can keep and taste all the aroma compounds sip by sip in drinking it. So I prefer it colder. But if it's working well, his fridge for 20 minutes, but maybe it's enough.
Well, I think it was because it's in a tasting pack, so it's the little
Okay.
100 mils. So
Okay.
it probably chills down a lot
Maybe
quicker.
get the 16 degrees.
Yeah. Anyway, 16 degrees. Get the thermometer out there, Anne, and you won't go wrong. So we talked quite a lot. So lots of questions about food. We've talked quite a lot. We're definitely in the sort of we've talked a lot about, we're in the 3 white wines. We talked a lot about seafood. A question from Jane saying, is Chardonnay always oaked? I'll take that one. Absolutely not. Chardonnay is like the chameleon of the grape varieties. We often like to refer to it as a bit of a chameleon. It takes on the soil characters. It showcases the terroir, as Johan said. And it also changes a lot with oak. So it handles oak quite well. People have gone too overboard with oak in the past and then reined it right back. And now I think we're in like this slightly more happy world where people just try and find balance, after going from one extreme to the other. But you'd find great unoaked Chardonnays. Yeah. I very much doubt the Chablis Premier Cru had any oak. And if it did, it would have been extremely old barrel. Do you, winemakers, do you ever get tired of drinking your own wines?
Not until the next vintage arrives.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Constant supply.
Well, not tired of my wine, but sometimes I tell you a secret. During the harvest time, I'm tired of wine generally, so I drink beer.
Beer. Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
You know what they say? It takes a lot of beer to make good wine.
Yeah, that's an excellent quote. Yeah, there's sometimes when a beer just hits the spot, isn't it? Yeah. I'm asked, which oysters would you eat though, Matt? Oh God, I don't know. Whatever's available, really. I'm not. I don't pretend to be a world expert on oysters. Yeah.
Is that a question for me?
Whatever's available.
For you?
Well, you can answer. Yeah, no, you can answer. Johan, do you have particular favorite oysters?
I was at a restaurant once and they had 5 different oysters, which was quite interesting. And don't ask me for the names or the style, but we do have smaller oysters in South Africa on the west coast where the water is colder. So that would be a little bit more creamy, richer flavored. And then towards the south coast, slightly bigger styled oysters in general. And yeah, that would be slightly different in style. Of course, more meat, but maybe not as pungent as the West Coast oysters, but both fantastic with a little bit of a topping of your choice. My mouth's watering now. I need oysters.
Gosh, yeah. We need some oysters. Another question for you, Johan. Is the Chardonnay, I think it's for you, is it best drunk young, or could you keep it? How many vintages have you got in the Kruger family cellar?
Sure. The first vintage of the old wine Chardonnay was 2019, which is still drinking well. 2020 is, I don't have too much left because everything shipped to the UK, but I think I have 24 bottles. So I'm trying to learn still how long the wine will age. But what I do find is from 19 to 20 to 21 and now the 22, which is freshly bottled, it's as if the more effort we put into the vineyard now, every vintage is getting a little bit more powerful, vintage by vintage, which to me tells me they will last longer. So I would say 21, probably 5 to 8 years to be conservative, providing you don't store it next to your oven. That would be my gut feel on the wine's aging potential, maybe even longer.
Wonderful. Yeah, Chardonnays can age brilliantly. Cool. shall we move on? We can carry on with the questions towards the end, but look, we better get into the reds now, shouldn't we? Really, I think. So wine number 4, everybody. Here we have. So this is Serena's choice. Her captain's pick. So it's Pinot Noir, isn't it, Serena? But from Germany. So
From
Step.
the
There
girl
we go.
Pinot Noir.
Yeah. So something a bit different, not Pinot Noir from Burgundy or any New World country. So Pinot Noir from the Pfalz region of Germany. What do you know about this wine, Serena? Have you tasted it before?
Yeah, I tasted it during the tasting tour together with Gerd. So I always enjoy his wine at the tasting. I love his wines because of the fruit. They are young. They keep, as my wine also, they keep the freshness. And I'm also a Pinot Noir lover. So I found with these pepper notes, with this elegance, something that really attract me. It's something really fascinating.
Absolutely.
And always consider, I believe that my love for Pinot Noir is also due to some ancient genetic connection with the Nebbiolo. So Pinot Noir and Nebbiolo genetically are part of the same family. So Pinot Noir always reminds me our Nebbiolo from Piemonte.
Yeah, they're similar, and it's really interesting. Burgundians really love the wines of Piemonte, and Piemontese people often visit Burgundy and adore Pinot Noir. There's a real link between the two, and we'll come on to your Barolo shortly. In fact, it'll be the next wine after this, so everyone can taste the similarities and the differences, more structure in the Nebbiolo, but the colour. But I don't know about you. I haven't tasted this for a little while. I guess for angels who won't be so aware of German Pinot Noir, forget what your sort of preconceptions are of it being very light and a little bit green or a little bit vegetal. This is, a beautiful color, isn't it? And full ripeness. Yeah,
it's really fruity. It's deep in the color. It's a 19, the vintage, but it seems more younger. I mean, I have this impression.
And it's just the palate it's got a hint of that smoky bacon character, but it's really pure fruit, and the supple tannins and the mouth texture is phenomenal. I think the Pfalz is an interesting region in Germany for Pinot, because you can get it's a longer ripening time, so the Pinot can ripen for a lot longer through the growing season. And then this is Sandstein vineyard, so it's a single vineyard. It's all rich in sandstone, and it just gives the Pinot that intensity of color and flavor. It's real explosion. Yeah. So
usually with
there
some
we
friends,
go. If you're
with some friends, usually we are Pinot Noir lover. We have some blind tasting of some bottle of Pinot Noir, and so the ones coming from Germany, but also Austria are surprisingly really fruity and tasty. So they make great reds also, because in our conception, in our mind, we always have this area, the Germany, Austria, like white area, white land. While
yes,
actually they are really great red producer.
Yeah, Central Europe, strong continental climate, plenty of good sunshine and heat in the summer, certainly. And you've got those lovely steep, less steep in the Pfalz, but steep vineyards. So not to get too geeky on people, but Gert uses a small amount of whole bunches of Pinot Noir in this wine, and what I think that brings to the wine is this real fragrance on the nose, the aromatics. You can smell it's really lifted, and that's the whole bunches for sure. So I think the balance is fantastic.
I love this wine. It's got that Pinot perfume you're referring to, which I really appreciate and find very attractive in Pinot Noir. And also when I get this sweet fruit on your lips, it's not sugar, it's sweet fruit from Pinot Noir. I'll go back for another bottle immediately. I think this is beautiful wine and great value. So yeah, thank you, Serena, for getting this wine to me all the way to South Africa. This is a privilege to taste it.
The first.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to taste a Chablis. We have to organize more tastings like this.
Yes.
Yeah, we should. Good. We should absolutely always do this. Is make sure everyone has the wine so that we can all taste alongside. It's a great opportunity to taste each other's wines and taste some other wines. So it's extremely important. And so just linking it back to food, I'm just keen to know. So Serena, what's a traditional Italian Christmas Day meal, and where would Pinot Noir, I mean, ever fit into that? Yeah.
Well, the Pinot Noir, usually, so we have a meal, we have a meat, like a stew meat, but it's not really stewed. It's called bollito. I don't know if in your Italian Piemonte trip, did you ever tasted the bollito? It's the meat, different part of the cow, cooked in the water for a long, long time.
Yes, so I've had tongue, that. Yeah. So boiled meats, the tongue, all of the bits, right?
Every part of the cow, so the tail, the tongue, everything. And then we take this meat and we eat it we match it with different sauce, garlic sauce, tomato sauce, and it's a fat meat, and I think it's going to match perfectly with this Pinot Noir. So the bollito, we call it bollito misto, and it's a really sharing meal, because you put the meat in the middle of the table and everyone is taking his part, and a glass of Pinot Noir like this is it's great.
Wow,
very communal meal, isn't it? And it's great to. I think I had it once, maybe in Verona actually, but I've had it in Piemonte as well. But yeah, everyone sort of just picks at bits, don't they? And I think a slightly lighter drink and a lot of people have correctly identified, quite high acid style of wine. If those bits of meat are a bit fatty, it really complements the fatty meat well.
It's really going to clean your mouth after this kind of fat meat. So
yeah, lovely. Some others on the chat recommended crispy duck, so Chinese sort of style duck, I guess. Some smoked cheeses, a number of things, but how about you, Johan? What do you like to?
I'm seeing
perfect. Yeah,
I'm seeing duck breast, beef bourguignon, and the South African version. I believe it's not only South Africa, but a good lamb tripe or sheep tripe. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but that richness in this Pinot Noir on a special occasion. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yes. Not my cup of tea, I have to say, but
I noticed. But it could work.
But I bet it does. No, absolutely. But it goes well. But beef bourguignon, tripe, yeah, absolutely. No, fantastic. Well, that's an absolute cracker. Let's keep with you, Serena. Let's go and do the comparison with your Barolo. So we are moving to back a vintage from 2019 to 2018, and on to Serena's very own Barolo.
Yes, our Barolo. So let's talk about the vintage 18 that we are. So we are coming from the 17 that was so the previous Barolo, the 17 was really more warm because the vintage was really warm and hot. So the summer was crazy. So also in the Nebbiolo we got to have some grapes more concentrated, where probably the polyphenolic ripening maturity was not the perfect one, but because the grape couldn't do more. And then the 18, we get to the 18 that it's much more balanced compared to the 17. We had some rains, we had some wet spring and beginning of summer, and we can taste it in this wine, in this Barolo. It's more fresh, it's more elegant and long.
Yeah.
So I'm a
just look at the color.
The color is really, it's a perfect ruby red. It's not going to turn into the orange side, but it's really the perfect color that the Barolo should have right in this moment. It's light, but at the same time, let me think. It's going to let me think that it's going to have a long shelf life. This kind of Barolo. I'm a Piemonte girl, so I'm completely in love with the Nebbiolo. And so for me, it's the Barolo, especially, is the wine for the special occasion. So there is no more. There's not a special occasion more than the Christmas meal. So we all the family enjoy. We all sit around the table, and we adore. We love opening a bottle of Barolo, of a good Barolo. And if we have the opportunity to find a good truffle, a white truffle in Alba, and so it's a white truffle with some tajarin, so that's a handmade pasta that usually we prepare with my grandmother in the morning of the 25. We prepare the handmade pasta, the tajarin, and then a little bit of white truffle and a glass of Barolo. So that's my Christmas.
Stop! That is my idea of heaven as well. I just adore Nebbiolo. I just and that dish I've had a few times. Can you still get some white truffles at Christmas time? There is still some left, or does it depend on the season?
This year probably. So this year, unfortunately, is terrible because we had no rain starting from the beginning of the year to the end of the summer. So it's really dry period of year. But we had some rains during the last month. And so that means that the truffle are going to come out later in the year. So right now, December,
a second wave.
December. Yeah. So we didn't have enough truffle at the beginning. So usually the beginning of the truffle fair in Alba is October, beginning of October. But probably there will be a second wave of truffle hunting right now in December. So we are lucky.
Wonderful.
The tourists are gone, and so the
tourists have gone.
And so
there was no truffle. The truffle show or whatever back in Alba, which is normally in October or November, isn't it? The truffle fair. That's long gone. Well, everyone's gone. So I'm going to book my plane ticket. And I'll be with you in about a week's time.
You're going to be with us for Christmas.
Yeah, tell my family I'm not going to be here anymore, and I'll come and eat tajarin and
I keep a seat for you.
Tajarini with truffles. Yeah. So interesting. The Barolo, I think lots of people loving it, but it does sort of, Barolos are kind of slightly Marmite style of wine in a way. So for some people, they're not quite sure what to make of it. I mean, I think this is a textbook Barolo, and what I can smell is a lot of shoe polish character, So there's high, sort of slightly beautiful, volatile, slightly volatile character.
Yeah, there is a slight
really, but in a good way, you know, like that good classic style, and it's not faulty wine or anything. It's delicious. It's, you know,
it's
vibrant, and it's
wine.
got, yeah, it is, exactly. And the color, I mean, this is the incredible thing about Nebbiolo, isn't it? It's quite a pale skin variety, but it gets you with that good whack of structure. I mean, 18 is quite a juicy vintage, so less of the structure, but in some years, 14, for example, when you get lots of structure and that dry tannin. So Sally asking Serena, when you said Pinot Noir and Nebbiolo were related, what exactly did you mean by that?
Because they, in the University of Ampelography, so that's the study of all the varieties, they did some genetic study, because also the vines, all the variety, they have their genetic ADN, DNA, and so they found out that the genetic composition of the Nebbiolo and the Pinot Noir have common roots. So far in the history, they have common parents.
There we go. So they are actually linked.
Linked in the same family.
Sally Ann asking me when I last polished my shoes, about my comment about the shoe polish. The answer is I don't think I've ever polished my shoes, but it smells like shoe polish to me. Somebody also saying tar is the aroma of Barolo.
Yes.
And that's sort of what and it's kind of what it makes it special. Is that sort of tar coal character, is that coming from the grape or the soil or the winemaking? Where do you think that comes from?
It's all composed by different stuff. It comes from the soil, it comes from the kind of winemaking, and in the kind of winemaking we say also the period of aging in the barrels. This one spent 2.5 years in the big wood of 25 hectoliters. We usually use French oak, and so also depending on the kind of wood that we use, we are going to have a different taste. There are some winemakers that use wood from Austria. We prefer to use French oak. I think they are more elegant and they have a different approach to this kind of Nebbiolo. So the taste we want to have, it's more delicate and elegant with this kind of aging. So all the aroma and the taste that we can have in this glass arrive from all these compounds, from all these elements. And for sure, if you taste in the Barolo area, it's not huge. There are 12 villages, small villages that are allowed to produce Barolo. This Barolo is produced close to the village of La Morra, but you can produce it, and if you taste a Barolo like this, but produced in a village, like for example, I say Serra Lunga, that's another village like 10 kilometers far away from this one, you are going to taste something else. Something in the same wave, but different kind of notes in the tannins, in the polyphenol compounds, in the aroma taste. So every winemaker have his own part, but also the soil and the cru, because we are talking also in this case, as in Burgundy, also here in Barolo, we are talking about cru. So different specific small appellation of vineyards.
Yeah. And that's another parallel with Burgundy, isn't it? There are lots of villages. There are you've done an amazing job of identifying the different vineyards. There's another map, which you sent me last Christmas, which I'm extremely grateful. It's a wonderful map of the vineyards of Barolo. And it's very like the vineyards of Burgundy. It's actually more extreme. There are more differences, and it's not so simple. David Smith asking, how many years do you think that Barolo would last, Serena? How long could you put that away for?
More than 10 years. So we are talking about, in a way of being drinkable, 10, 15 years. But if you consider a Barolo, I mean, I also can enjoy a Barolo, an old Barolo, like 25, 30 years old. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be something different. The tannins are going to be more sweet. It's going to be, you're going to find it oxidated, we can say, but this kind of oxidation is going to work perfectly with all the tannins and the color and the richness in the mouth. So you are going really to have in your mouth something elegant and sweet at the same time. So it's an experience you need to try once in your life, to try to keep a bottle of Barolo for 20, 25 years and or buy an old bottle of Barolo, and you will see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, they hold they're pale in color, but they hold the color remarkably well. They don't tend to lose the color like Bordeaux does or something like that. Yeah, amazing. Wonderful. There's loads more questions. We'll try and get to them, but I've just seen the time. Let's keep going. That's delicious Barolo. Let's get to your final one, the final one, if we may, and it's Johann's Elements 2021. Johann, what is in this? How have you made this wine? What's in it, and what were the thoughts behind its inception?
Elements is all about the elements, the different blending components. I think with most Bordeaux wines, unlike Chardonnay and Pinot Noir or Barolo, which are normally single vineyard wines or site-specific, Bordeaux varieties or blends are more about the assemblage or putting together the different components to get that unique style or personality in the wine. And although what I'm explaining now with the elements could sound contrast with regards to the previous 5 wines we've tasted, I do find a thread through all 6 of them, and that is all 6 wines to me smell and taste like Christmas. I love the Barolo, Serena. It's really a beautiful wine. I know we have to move on, but I want to say that before we get onto my wine, it's really pretty and perfumey, and the minerality is fantastic. But yeah, getting back to the elements, that was one of our first wines to be launched with Naked Wines 7 years and 10 vintages ago. And here we are 7 years and 10 vintages later, celebrating Christmas with a magnum of elements. And I have found with the elements in the past that a bottle is just not enough over Christmas. You know, you're just starting to enjoy the wine. It's all finished. So I'm very grateful and humbled for the opportunity to get our Elements 10th vintage on top of that, bottled in magnums for this Christmas case. And yeah, it's been 7 years of amazing support from the Angels. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, I think it's always been mostly Cab Sauvignon led, and then the other 4 varieties joined after in the blend. And the challenge with this is to get that consistency, but also never to be satisfied with a specific vintage, but for the next year trying to blend even a better assemblage of this wine. And of course, Christmas morning, before the kids wake up for their presents, luckily I wake up very early, I would put in a slow roast leg of lamb in the oven, and the kids will wake up, we do presents, we go to church, we come back, and I sometimes am surprised by the fact that the kids run faster to the oven after the leg of ram than they do to their presents for Christmas. So to us, that's
a very good sign.
To me, I'm not sure if I run quicker to the Elements or the leg of lamb, but there's also a race in between the two. And that's the festive spirit of Christmas, you know, it's just all being together, enjoying what they eat or drink or open. And I think that is what makes tonight special as well. Just sharing these beautiful wines, and for me, it's a big privilege to open a blue box with some naked wines and to share this evening with the angels and with you, Matt and Serena. So yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. So it's it's absolutely fantastic. So this is a Christmas Day wine for you, Johan. So it's a slow cooked leg of lamb. That sounds awesome. I must admit, I don't often eat lamb for Christmas, so it's great to hear that. And I can just picture this wine with the bright, fresh acidity of it, but the juicy fruit.
Yes.
So varietally, is it all 5 Bordeaux varieties, or is it less than that? Or
normally it's all 5. It depends on the vintage. We might skip a variety, but it's never been less than 4.
Okay.
And I think there's just a sweet spot in between those varieties. And the challenge for me is always, you'll appreciate me saying this, when we blended and that's how time flies. It's just crazy. But we blended the first vintage of Elements when Sophie was pregnant with Mathieu. And before I sent the pre-bought options A, B, and C to Naked for approval, I always get Sophie, who's been pregnant for most of the past 6 years with our 3 boys. And with her being pregnant, she had an amazing sense of smell. And I have to give her credit for part of this blending process, because she's always said A, B, or C, rather A or rather B. So I would do the hard graft, but she would put the cherry on the cake, which finishes the job. So
always listen to your wives.
Excuse me?
Always listen to your wives, not only when they are pregnant.
Always when they are pregnant.
Absolutely, always, and in general.
It's a family affair, and it's really special to share this one. I must say, it's humbling and almost a bit emotional to think the past couple of years and what everybody's been through, and for us to have made it to the other side. And here we are, a wonderful, positive, amazing Christmas lying ahead of us. So with some special wines.
Wow. Absolutely, Johan. You couldn't have said it better. A lot of love for the Elements. Plenty of people have had their Magnum and it's waiting for them, and they've now had a sneak preview and lots of choices for Christmas Day, I would imagine. Yeah, absolutely. What do you reckon, Serena? What would you eat in Italy with a wine like this?
With a wine like this, for me, also in Italy, we have a good tradition in lamb. Also, there are some in Piedmont. There are some parts of Piedmont close to the Alps where there are good lambs, and it's also my father's favorite meat. So usually, if he has the opportunity to choose something, I mean. In the menu is always lamb, so no choice. Always lamb for Gianfranco. Always lamb for Gianfranco. So I think it's there's going to be a good match between this kind of wine, so rich. It's really deep, and just see the color. You cannot see through the glass. It's incredible. So well done.
Concentration. Yeah. Compliments, Johan. This is a great vintage. I'm going to get myself a Magnum. I would just say, I think you've still got time to claim your free Magnum if you order a case of wine. And there are some Magnums for sale on the website. So if everyone is wondering what we're talking about in terms of the Magnums, they're there. They're available for purchase, or there is a freebie if you order your case of wine. Yeah. But it tastes good from Magnum. Yeah.
I just saw on the comments, cassoulet, indeed.
Oof, yeah.
Oof,
yeah.
Please
yeah.
and thank you.
Yeah.
Set match for
me. Yes. Yeah. yeah. me and my good lady wife had cassoulet as our wedding meal since we met in that part of France. So I can just, we're a massive fan. I can just picture this with sausages, duck. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So totally sold. Awesome. Well, I think, everyone really, really enjoying these wines. We've got a few more questions and we're well over the hour, but if everyone feels like hanging around for a few more minutes, I'm sure I can persuade these wonderful winemakers just to answer a couple of your questions. But first, order of business before we just do that, I said at the beginning, one lucky angel would win a whole 6-pack of these wines. That's 1 bottle each, not 6 of each, but 6 bottles, these delicious wines, you lucky devils. So the winner is Mark Giller. Congratulations, Mark Giller. I think Simon will send you a message on the chat, or we'll find a way of getting in touch with you and making sure you get those wines before Christmas. So well done to you. Cool. All right. How about just a few little questions before we call it a night? Let's see. Let's get through here. So, can I? Oh, Phil. Right. Phil's asked. I'm just going to pick some questions randomly. Phil is asking Serena and Johan, do you have plans to go topless with your future bottles? You might be wondering what I'm talking about, Serena. Are there any exceptions you would make? So you may know we launched our first wine this year with no capsule, no aluminium capsule on the cork. It was just without. And Johan, did we bottle your Magnum of Chenin without a capsule? I think we might have done.
We did.
Anyway, I think our point of view is that the capsule really is only cosmetic. It uses some metal that doesn't really need to be there. It adds cost, doesn't do anything for anyone. I guess, what are your thoughts, winemakers, on these sorts of kind of green initiatives, like losing the capsule?
Who's that?
It's a double-edged sword. Green, definitely yes, it works. It saves. Tin is expensive, and the Magnum bottles need tin, unfortunately. So on the one side, I do agree with that. On the other side, opening Burgundy or Barolo with screw cap is just not the same thing. And I think, to a sense, the same goes for the capsules. There's a romance in cutting the capsule, pulling the cork. But again, we need to be responsible and look after our planet, and all take hands. So I think it's a learning curve for all of us, Matt, if I may say that. And as they say in Burgundy, when the journalist asked the winemaker, why is your Pinot Noir so light in color, the Burgundian producer said, can you taste color? Can you taste the capsule? It doesn't make a difference to the inside of the bottle. So that's my 2 cents worth.
What do you reckon, Serena? Got anything to add to that?
I totally agree. From environmental point of view, it should be the base idea. But there are, for example, we have some for some appellation like the Barolo, Gavi del Comune di Gavi. We have some restriction for now, so it's not we cannot use a screw cap, but maybe we see the world is going to change, and also the appellation and the bureaucracy or the law are going to take a different approach.
Take a while.
Well, especially in Italy.
Yeah, another 10 years. Well, we had it was a resounding success. We did it with a rosé wine. So I think the point is, it's maybe about balance here. We start with the fresher, younger drinking, cheaper wines, and we push and
that's a great idea.
See what happens. Yeah, exactly. John asking, Serena, the Barolo is 14% ABV, which is strong. Is that typical? Is it typical for a Barolo to be 14? I think it is, isn't it? Generally
40
quite
degrees
alcoholic variety.
the average, of the last vintage,
Yeah. And how long do you age that Barolo in? So how long does it spend in the Botti Grandi, the 20 hectoliter oak?
At least 2 years and a half. And then the rest of the period in the bottles. So we are allowed to sell it in the market 4 years after the harvest. So that's why we have the 2018 right now during the 2022.
Yeah. Very well. And
so it's quite
what
a
was
long
the other question? Yeah, it takes time to make great Barolo, and it lasts very long. Everything's slow about Barolo.
Everything's long and low.
Yeah. There was another question about that. Anyway, somebody asking, where does Barolo sit in the hierarchy of Italian wine? So, is there a hierarchy of Italian wine? Barolo sits at the top, doesn't it? The wine of kings.
Well, I usually say, it's the king of the reds, but no, it's one of the most well-known reds, together with Brunello, together with the Chianti. Well, there are some few reds that are in a certain wave of king of reds. There is something in common, as we said previously, with the Burgundy. So we have this aura, we have this image of style of wine, of edit, but it's just because telling a little bit about history in the past 30-40 years, the ancient winemaker of Barolo, they took their bag and they went to Burgundy, learning how to make wine and how to sell wine in a proper way, and that made the history of Barolo.
Yeah, there we go. Johan, we've got some angels visiting South Africa in April. Do you do wine tastings? Do you have a cellar door? I don't know. Do you?
I always answer. Our cellar door is a naked tour, because the wines that we produce for Naked Wines are export only and exclusive to Naked Wines. However, and because we are export based, we always try our best to accommodate angels to a glass of wine and show them around of what we do. If the timing allows, we might do a vineyard visit or a cellar visit or share a glass of wine. So please make contact via email, and we do try our best to accommodate them, but we don't have a physical wine cellar as we rent cellar space or specific tasting room to the public. But we do our best to make space and time for the angels when they visit South Africa, as some of you have been here already, some AAs as well. And I'm almost tempted to say, if the time allows, we'll do a lamb chop on the coals, but I can't do it for everybody. If the time does allow, we'll do our best, at least for a glass of wine. So please make contact via email or send a message, and we'll make a plan. Sure thing.
Well, that sounds a lot more personal, doesn't it? Some of the big cellar doors, and don't get me wrong, South Africa does hospitality like better than any country. It's a fantastic place to visit on the wine route, but sometimes it's nicer to have a personal experience where you go to somebody's house and you share a glass of wine and some slow cooked lamb, because Johan made that sound pretty bloody amazing. Look, there are a load more questions, but I think it's been fantastic. We've kept these winemakers up long enough, particularly Johan. What time is it there? It's a couple of hours ahead. But you've both been so kind.
11. I'm almost getting up already.
Well, yeah, I know. Winemakers,
really.
Early risers, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I think we'll call it a night there. Everyone, really, it's great to see lots of hugely positive comments from everyone. Thank you, angels, for joining tonight. We've had a lot of fun, And look, thank you, winemakers, for showing us these wines, making these wines for the Angels, and choosing the other wines there. I'm glad we could all share them tonight. They're all tasting. I thought they were tasting phenomenally good. Yeah, absolutely. And,
thank you for organizing this.
A pleasure.
Thank you, Matt.
Pleasure.
Naked Wines, all the Angels. That was very special, and we should do these more often.
Next week.
Special to spend time with
Next
each
week.
other. So thank you. Beautiful wines, Selena. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. So your wines are great.
Oh, fantastic. Everything delicious. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure. Angels, wishing you all a very merry Christmas. Have a fantastic time over the festive season. You've got lots of great wine to drink, hopefully, and lots of delicious food ideas as well now. So wishing everyone a very merry Christmas, and thank you very much. And we'll see you at the next one. All right. Thanks, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas all.
Ciao.
Ciao.